If you're new to expressing breast milk, you've been thinking about trying to use a breast pump, this is the perfect video for you. Welcome to Lactation with Amy. Today we're going to talk about everything you need to know about expressing and pumping breast milk. We're going to talk about storage duration, warming up the milk, transportation, weird smells, and much more. Let's jump straight in. Hygiene. Hygiene is really important before pumping, so always wash your hands before commencing expressing. When you're cleaning your pump, you can clean them with hot soapy water. I would personally use a toxic-free mild dish detergent, and you want to then rinse in cold water and then air dry your pump parts between use. Make sure you're also watching the little valves that come with breast pump parts, as that can collect a lot of build-up milk and bacteria if not washed between use. It's really not that hard to wash pump parts. You just basically wash it like how you wash your dishes, but make sure you don't wash it in your dishwasher with your other dishes, and ideally you want to use a separate dishwashing sponge. When you're washing bottles, you want to make sure you have a bristle brush where you can really get into the crevices of the bottles and clean them properly. Sterilization is optional for everything touching breast milk. When you're using formula though, so if you're going to be mixed feeding and you're using some bottles and teats for formula, those specific bottles and teats touching formula have to be sterilized between each use. If you're going to be mixed feeding and sterilizing some equipment anyway, feel free to sterilize your pumping equipment maybe once a day or once every couple days, just to keep everything extra fresh. Storage. When your breast milk is freshly expressed, it's good in room air for about 4 to 6 hours. Some suggest that it is okay in room air for up to 8 hours if the temperature of the room is below 26 degrees. If you're going to be using it for the next feed, feel free to leave it in room air. This way you don't have to be warming it up. If you're not sure whether you're going to be using it, it's best to label the bottle of your breast milk with the time that you started expressing and put it into the coldest and coolest part of your fridge, which is usually at the back of your fridge. When it is in the refrigerator, it's good for up to 72 hours, which is about 3 days. If you're not going to be using your breast milk within the 72 hours, you can put it into the freezer section before the 72-hour ends. So if your breast milk has been in the fridge for more than 72 hours, it is no longer deemed safe for consumption. So you can feel free to use the breast milk for baby baths, for healing your nipples, to put on your skin and things like that, just so you're not wasting them. If you don't have a double door fridge with a separate freezer section with its own door, you can put it in the freezer compartment of a refrigerator for about 2 weeks. That's if the temperature is below negative 15 degrees. If you have a conventional refrigerator with a separate door for the freezer section, your breast milk is good in there for 3 months, considering the temperature of the freezer section is below 18 degrees. When you're deep freezing your breast milk is safe for consumption for about 6 to 12 months. That's if the temperature is lower than negative 20 degrees. If you want to add freshly expressed milk into the same bottle before you freeze it, or just to save bottles, you just need to make sure that your breast milk are all cooled at the same temperature. So when you freshly express your breast milk, it is pretty much body temperature. So you just want to put that into its own container into the fridge first. And once both bottles are cooled, you can then put it into the same container and use it or freeze it. Warming up breast milk. You can warm the breast milk in a cup of warm water. And once the milk is warmed, it is good to be used for the completion of the feed, so usually around 1 hour. If you want to be defrosting your milk and you don't need it straight away, you can defrost it overnight in the fridge. And it is okay for consumption for about 24 hours in the fridge since the time that it is thawed. If frozen milk is thawed in room air, it is okay for up to 4 hours. Warming up milk in the microwave does not heat the milk evenly and can cause hot spots, which can actually burn the baby. When you're microwaving breast milk, it also breaks the nutrient bind and can damage the immune factors that's contained in breast milk and lower its benefits. When transporting breast milk, transport express milk in a cooling container with some ice packs or in a cooled bottle device. If you can keep the temperature of the environment below 5 degrees, then you would follow the same suggestions as refrigerating breast milk or defrosting your breast milk in the fridge. So for example, if you take a bottle of milk from the fridge, once it's already cooled down, and you put it into that freezer pack where it's below 5 degrees, then you can continue keeping the breast milk safe for 72 hours from when you express the breast milk. However, once you start warming the breast milk, then it needs to be used within that feed. And obviously, your ice pack would melt over time. So if the temperature of the cooler bag is no longer lower than 5 degrees, then you'll be cutting the time shorter. So go more towards room temperature, so about 4 to 6 hours. If frozen breast milk is accidentally thawed in the cooler bag during transportation, it's only good for 24 hours since when it started melting, considering you put it into the fridge immediately. If you don't have a fridge available and your milk has already defrosted, then that's only good for 4 hours. And just make sure you know that defrosted milk cannot be refrozen. Before you start stashing loads of milk in large quantities into your freezer, you need to know that your express milk can actually have a weird smell once it's already frozen. For some people, this milk can smell soapy or metallic or a bit fishy after storage. That's usually caused by the breakdown of fat in your breast milk. If your breast milk has been stored properly in a clean container or milk bag and in a safe temperature, the milk is still considered safe for consumption. Most babies will still drink this milk. However, some babies will not drink this milk because it can taste or smell different. So, before you start freezing large quantities of your milk, make sure you just test freeze some of your breast milk in small amounts to make sure that this is not all for nothing and your baby will still drink it. So what you can do is to freeze maybe 10 to 20 mils of your breast milk, put it into the freezer section for a week or two, and then defrost it and offer it to your baby and see if they take it. The last thing you want is putting in all this hard work to be freezing large quantities of your milk and risking an oversupply and for your baby to not even drink the milk. Before we start expressing, you just need to make sure that you know why you're pumping, whether it is to help you establish a milk supply, replace a breastfeed, if you're going out for an event, if there's been a change in your breastfeeding routine, if you're going to be separated from baby, if you're going back to work, or even considering weaning. The reason as to why you're expressing will largely affect the duration and the frequency of your expressing sessions and your expressing routine. So just make sure that you know that you're pumping for a purpose. If your baby is less than 6 to 8 weeks old, it is usually recommended to not be stashing a lot of milk away in the freezer to protect the supply because you're at a higher risk of triggering an oversupply, which then can increase your risk of plugged duct and mastitis down the track. So before expressing, make sure you know why you're expressing. Do you actually need to be freezing your milk? Because for a lot of the reasons as to why you're expressing, you don't actually need to be freezing your milk when it's good in the fridge for 72 hours. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Talk to a lactation consultant, read and do your research before expressing, buying a breast pump, freezing away large quantities of your breast milk. If you're still not sure, Australian Breastfeeding Association is a great resource if you're based in Australia. So I'll link that in the description down below if you're interested in more information. Thank you for stumbling across my video. If you like the way I explain things, and if you're a parent just looking for extra guidance, feel free to subscribe and comment down below. I would love to get to know you. See you in the next one.